What's the matter?
I don't know.
I know.
What?
You're in love.
In what?
In love. L-U-G-H. Love.
Hello, and welcome to another special bonus episode of the Laurel and Hardy podcast. I'm Patrick Vasey, the editor of the Laurel and Hardy magazine and the author of the interminably forthcoming book Laurel and Hardy Silence. This is bonus episode number 12, and today we're turning our attention to two guys who have achieved what, so far, I've been unable to do, and that is to actually complete and publish a large and hefty book on Laurel and Hardy. I'm referring to Andreas Baum and Michael Ehret and their brand new book, Laurel and Hardy, A True Love Story, the pictorial history of Stan and Ollie, their life and work. Now, it really is a jaw-dropping volume, and I can't wait to get into that conversation with Andreas and Michael. As they're both new guests to the podcast, I will, of course, be asking them about their Laurel and Hardy backstories, and most importantly, the infamous Atoll Question. Now, as you may know, Andreas and Michael's book, as well as Michael's previous book, Spot On, comes with a DVD of rare recordings never before released of Stan and Babe. And I'm thrilled to say that Michael has very generously sent me a snippet of a very rare audio clip of Oliver Hardy to present to you. Now, the clip is only a short one, but it's lovely to hear, really, really lovely to hear, and it's a teasing glimpse of the treasures that await any individual who purchases these fabulous publications. So that's just a little heads up. Listen out for that coming up a little later in the show. Now, before we jump into it, I want to say a huge thank you to our new patron, Anthony Priddy, who became one of the lower elements in the last month. Thank you so much, Anthony. If you, like Anthony, enjoy these podcasts and would like to become a patron, for the cost of a cup of coffee per month, you can gain immediate access to all the exclusive patron-only episodes by joining one of the two tiers on patreon.com. Depending on which tier you join, you can also benefit by receiving a gift subscription to our Laurel and Hardy magazine, and also be able to submit questions to me and my guests, as well as more besides. So follow the Patreon link in the podcast show notes or on my website, laurelandhardyfilms.com. I'd like to also say a huge thank you to Elvis Patterson, who left me this 5-star review on Apple Podcasts recently too. His review is titled, Tell Me That Again. And his review reads, Excellent podcast, providing entertainment, insight and historical background to the films. Patrick Vasey is a knowledgeable and engaging host, and the guests are a rotating cast of the world's foremost Laurel and Hardy experts. Thanks to all concerned. Elvis, you are most welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to leave that review. And one final notice to pass on is that due to an overly heavy workload and a certain seasonal festival that is fast approaching, unfortunately I don't have time or capacity to put together another of our standard episodes. They do take a lot more work than these bonus episodes do. So episode 38, in which I'll be covering the Hollywood Review of 1929, will be coming along in the new year. However, that doesn't mean to say that this is your last episode of the year. On the 15th of December at 5 p.m. UK time, I will be hosting a Laurel and Hardy podcast live event in which I'll be interviewing Danny Backer and Bernie Hojay all about their new book, Collecting Laurel and Hardy. This promises to be a really fun event. Danny and Bernie are really great guys, and their collections of Laurel and Hardy artifacts, costumes and memorabilia is absolutely second to none. All patrons signed up to the Plumtree tier will receive invites to sit in on the recording, which we'll be hosting on Zoom, and will also have the chance to put their own questions to the guys as well. So if you'd like to be part of this special pre-Christmas live podcast event, make sure you're signed up to the Plumtree tier. If you're already a member of the lower elements or one of our free members, then you can easily upgrade to become a member of the Plumtree tier. As I mentioned before, just follow the Patreon links in the podcast show notes or on my website, laurelandhardyfilms.com. Okay, I think I've confused you enough for one episode. Let's now hop on over to Germany and meet today's guests. Today's bonus episode of the Laurel and Hardy podcast is very special as we welcome not one but two guests onto the show. Coming to us all the way from Germany is Andreas Baum and Michael Ehret. Among the many hats that Andreas wears are those of author, TV journalist, director and film producer. Many of you, I'm sure, will know his films such as the documentaries The Lot of Fun, Where the Movies Learn to Laugh, Harold Lloyd, Hollywood's timeless comedy genius, and of course Laurel and Hardy, Their Lives and Magic, of which Stan Laurel's daughter Lois said it's the best documentary on Laurel and Hardy she has ever seen. That's praise indeed. Michael Ehret is a talented musician playing drums in the famous Barrel House Jazz Band. Michael is a passionate collector of Laurel and Hardy rarities and has also worked on a number of documentaries about slapstick comedy. He was the driving force behind the wonderful book Spot On, all about Laurel and Hardy's 1952 British stage tour, and he has other publications in the pipeline as well. Michael and Andreas' latest book, entitled Laurel and Hardy, A True Love Story, The Pictorial History of Stan and Ollie, Their Life and Work, is newly published and is a real treasure trove for all fans of the boys. So it is with great pleasure I welcome today's guests, Andreas Baum and Michael Ehret. Welcome to the Laurel and Hardy podcast.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
It's great to have both of you on. The first Germans on the podcast, so you are honoured. Thank you so much for coming on. I will just make a little mention to anybody listening that obviously English is not you guys' first language. So
that's right.
I'm trying to speak slowly, which is a difficult one for me. But you're
not as difficult as for us to understand you, and as we are no native speakers, that's really a challenge for us, So.
Your English is very good. I will say your English is very good, both of you. So it's far better than my German or any other language. So I'm going to say nothing on that front. But thank you so much for coming on today. I know there is a slight language barrier issue, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. I've spoken to you already before, and I think we'll be just fine. So.
Okay.
What I'd like to do, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about your new book, the True Love Story. But I always ask my guests a little bit about yourselves first. So, can you each tell us about your earliest memories of Laurel and Hardy? So, how did you discover them? And I'm going to ask Andreas first. If you could tell us your backstory, would be great.
Yes, the backstory. Okay, I think it's similar to the story of most of the Laurel and Hardy fans I've met, and I was talking to as a child. Laurel and Hardy the films have been shown here on TV every Friday in the second German channel called ZDF, the like the BBC, for example.
Yeah.
Government ruled. And on Fridays, 6 o'clock in the evening, every Friday, there was Laurel and Hardy, the show.
Right.
And so, as a child, for me, that was, I was outside, I was walking around, playing with other childs all the days, all the week. But on Friday at 6 o'clock, there was no other friend which was important for me. Only Laurel and Hardy have been my friends then,
Lovely.
So I was watching the show every Friday. So yeah, and then they became my friends, or I felt like they became my friends.
Yes, of course. Did your parents like Laurel and Hardy, Andreas?
My parents, my father, yes. My mother, no. She couldn't laugh about it, and
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I realized that later. Not all the women, not all of them, but some of them. They can't laugh about Laurel and Hardy. My mother, no. My father, yes. And I was, very amused about them. My father as well. So, yeah.
That's great. That's great. Michael, how about yourself?
Yes, I always choose my girlfriends if they love about Laurel and Hardy. No, it's like Andreas said. When I grew up in the 1970s, 1980s, my whole family watched Laurel and Hardy, called Väter der Klamotte and Zwei Herren, dick und doof. In the evenings, the whole family sat in front of the TV, also my grandmother who loved them. She was an Austrian person, and she loved Laurel and Hardy. And she laughed so loud and so heavy that she almost wet her pants laughing. He always ran out after 15 minutes, and it was a whole lot of fun for the whole family.
That's great.
To watch Laurel and Hardy. Yeah,
That's lovely.
my father also was a big fan, and only my mother wasn't very interested in Laurel and Hardy, but the rest of the family was. Yeah.
Yes, that's really good. That's great. I remember it was my wife's grandmother. She always used to talk about watching Laurel and Hardy at the cinema. So she would, she was obviously of that age that she would go to the cinema to watch them. And we were able then to get our VHS tapes and show them to her on the TV. And she discovered them all over again. And to see her laughing at them after all those years and remembering certain scenes and things from the cinema was just wonderful, really wonderful. And I think that's the true magic of Laurel and Hardy. It spans generations and age differences. It's just, your story, Michael, of sitting around with all the family together. It's just, it's lovely. Really, really special. Yeah. So that your new book, congratulations on the book, I have to say. It is a very, very special book. And what I love about it is that you've really focused on quality. You've really gone for quality paper, quality images, high resolution pictures, wonderful essays. It really is something that you can be very proud of, and you should be very proud of that. So I'm sure it's been on social media a lot, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have already heard about the book. But if for those who haven't, could you just describe the love story book to the listeners who may not have come across it?
Yes, how to describe a book like that? You have to see it. but I try it. I mean, the dimensions are around about 30 centimeters to 30 centimeters. It's a big one. It's heavy. I mean, it's round about more or less 4 kilograms in weight. So very heavy. You can use it for things like, if a burglar is coming to your house and you don't have any weapon, you can take this one and But I mean, it's really, the special thing about it is, as you said before, you have hundreds or I guess thousands of photographs in the book. Not all of them on one page, one photograph, but a lot of them are on one page. So even if you know what the photograph is showing, if you know the image, maybe you will never have seen it before on such a scale. I mean, and then in high resolution, as you said, that means those pictures they look totally different to if you watch them on a computer or monitor or whatever.
Or smartphone, yes.
Or smartphone, Say and that was the challenge, that we thought we would like to do a book which is totally different from the others because of all those images in this quality.
Yes, yeah, and it is a pictorial history. It is exactly what it says, but it's not just pictures. You have some really good essays in there from some wonderful authors. I'm in there as well, but that's not what I'm getting at. So, but we have, Randy Skretvat has a great one in there. Chris Sagan. So listeners to the show will know those two immediately. And so, was the idea to try and sort of narrate Laurel and Hardy's life stories through these images and interspersed with essays? Is that what you were going for there?
That was the idea. Yes.
So I know there's a volume 2 coming shortly. So does that then pick up where this book left off?
Yes. The idea was at the beginning that we thought we will do one book, maybe 300 pages in total. And then, that's fine. And then it developed, it's like, sometimes I think it's like a snowball, that we threw away. And as it went rolling down the hill, it became bigger and bigger and bigger, and at the end it was like an avalanche or something like that. It was, we had started with the idea of those 300 pages, and then it became really big. And now we had to decide what to do, because we could not make a book which has maybe 1,000 pages. It would have weighted would have had a weight of maybe 8 kilograms. So we split it, and we said, okay, let's do 2 volumes, and this is volume 1, and hopefully there will be volume 2 next year, same time, and then it's completed.
Yeah, it's excellent, and it really gave Russell and I food for thought about our silence book, because we were looking at a book which is probably going to be 800 pages plus.
Oh.
And it's just made us stop in our tracks to think that that's just not feasibly, manageable to hold and to look through. So it's given us some food for thought. But what I do love, and you picked up on it there, Andreas, is the size of some of the images being sort of full bleed shots across 1 and sometimes 2 pages. It may be an image that you've seen before, but actually the details that you can pick up, you really feel immersed in that image. And sometimes my favourite images in there are the ones that are sort of on the Hal Roach backlot, and the behind the scenes images. I know a lot of fans of The Boys love the behind the scenes images, but it's just the smallest details that just give you a hint of the everyday life on the studio, what it was like to be there, where people were parking the cars, say, or just daft little things, but they make such a big difference to our appreciation, I think, of the lot of fun, for want of a better word.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the idea of this book to show the photos in the best possible resolution, because people are used to look in their smartphones and see photos, but we got the reaction from fans who bought the book, who said that is something that surprised them, to see these photos like you in such a big format, and it was a new feeling, because in Germany you have the word ein Bild sagt mehr als 1.000 Worte, which means one picture says more than 1,000 words. And
yes, I know. Yeah,
and that was the idea, to show them the best possible resolution.
Yeah. How did you decide to choose? In fact, I opened this up to my patrons to ask questions about the book, and we had a couple of questions come in. So it's a good point to bring in the first one, which is from Chris Shear, who's from Texas in the US, and he asks, what inspired you to start writing about Laurel and Hardy, and what made you start the process, and what motivated you to keep going?
Yeah, we always thought, as we met, Michael and I, which was, I think, in 2000. No, we met in 2006.
2000.
So the first time we met was in 2006, I guess. But in 2009, we decided or we thought about making a book. And the idea came up because, we always said, why isn't there any book like this, which is a coffee table book, you know what I mean? Or do you say picture book? I don't know the word in English. Coffee table book, maybe, right? So there was no book like this, and we always said this is a book we would like to buy, but as you couldn't buy it, so we had to do it by ourselves. I mean, that
it was the book that we always wanted to buy somewhere, yes, and it wasn't possible.
Exactly.
And the time where we started the book, Hardy was already 15 years dead, and Stan 45 years. And we couldn't believe that no one produced such a book in that time, in that period, because
if you watch Laurel and Hardy, they are very visual, their comedies are visual. Almost all of their photographs are very funny. Not all of them, but many of them are really funny. And so if a comedy duo is so visual, we thought there has to be a book which is visual and which shows them.
Yes, yeah. Another question from one of the patrons as well. This was Steve McCarty, who's from the Liberty Tent in southern Illinois in the US again. And this just goes back to the photographs. How did you decide which photographs and stories should be in volume 1 and volume 2? And I guess I'd like to just add to that, how did you decide which photographs to use and which ones not to use? What was your kind of criteria? What were you looking for?
That was quite a challenge, I guess, because our collections are big. So we have a lot of photographs in our collections. And both of us together, that's a big collection. And then we had the challenge to find out, or first what we made is we thought about chapters. And we decided, as it is kind of a biography, not really a biography, but in pictures, yes. So we decided to follow their way of life, starting with the birth and ending with the death, and in between their personal lives as well as their career. To get solo first, Stan and Ollie solo, and then together as a team. So we thought about chapters, and then we looked in our files. We looked what photographs do we have, where can we get other photographs which we are missing, or for subjects that we would like to have in our book, and went to archives, went to other fans, asked them, and so on. So and then Michael is a very good archivar. Is it the word? His archive is very good. His archivist.
Oh, yes. Archivist.
Yeah, that's
archivist.
He is a good one. So I'm a chaotic person, and more or less a creative chaotic person, and he is
Structured.
right. He knows where he can find his photographs. He knows my collection better than me. So sometimes if I'm wondering about a photograph and I say to Michael, "Oh, Michael, I know this photograph. Where from do I know that one?" He says, "Yeah, it's from your collection." So I say, "Oh, yeah." So he knows better than me. And we started with looking for each chapter, which photographs will fit in there, So Michael.
Yeah.
And sometimes, what is very important, sometimes we had a choice of 10 photos and had to decide which one we take. And Andreas and I, we have very similar feeling for the right photo. So there was not much discussion which photo to take, because we were very on the same graphical understanding.
Gee, that's swell photography.
It's good when you get a working relationship like that. I have a very similar one with Russell. His strengths and my strengths are very different, but actually the bit where we meet, we're very, very similar. We've got a good eye for the right sort of thing, and we think very, very similarly. But I'm okay on the writing side. He's brilliant on the graphic side. So when we come together, it just works, and it's lovely to find that. It's really nice.
That's the most important thing, because when you plan 2,000 or 1,000 pages, you have to have nearly the same.
But, that's like Laurel and Hardy. That was also good teamwork. It's good teamwork. So you and Ross, good teamwork. Michael and I, good teamwork, and we are it's the same like with Laurel and Hardy. They had also a good team.
Remember, united we stand. Divided we fall.
Yes, but it was, even if we have a good teamwork, it was a challenge because of the mess of the material that we had, so much material. And as Michael said, sometimes we had 10, 15 or 20 different photographs. And then we sat there at the computer and said, okay, which one is the best? And then we not only thought about which will fit into that chapter best, but also how can we combine them? I mean, it's not only, and every time one photograph on one page. Sometimes we have 10 or 15 photographs on one page combined, and as well with the text, the picture. So it was, it was a creative walk through the lives of both of them, Stan and Ollie.
Yeah, it's a remarkable. I mean, I can't stop flicking through it because there is always. I mean, it is such a big book that you can keep on looking through it and always find something different to spot. And it is just a joy to go through, and some of the images that you have, as I say, they're just. I mean, I've seen a lot of images now, in the years, but there are so many in there that I haven't seen before that are a delight. They really are a delight. And as you say, you do just have to see it to believe it. It is something. It's awesome, really. It really is awesome.
No, I think in volume 2 we have more rare photos because it's the time where we have more photos to change of.
Yeah, because that's what we realized. We saw the problem at the beginning that in the very early days of Stan and Ollie, their birth times, that you don't have too much photographs of good quality because on the one hand there are not so many photographs out there then, and if you get them, they are not good in quality. So volume 2 is, from our point, hopefully even better than volume 1 because
that's dangling a carrot. I like that.
we really think so because as Michael said, from that time period, which is in volume 2, more or less the topic, there are so many really good photographs out there that we got and that we found. Yes, you will, and a lot of them are in color, originally in color, which we have never seen before, I guess. So, yeah.
Isn't that a pip?
It certainly is.
What I'd be really interested to find out actually is through making the book, as I just said, there are a number of photographs that I've never seen before, and I know you've said just there that some of the photographs weren't from your collections. You actually had to go out and find other images. Were there things that you found out through making the book that really surprised you? What kind of things did you take away thinking that was wonderful? I never expected to see that or find.
I think I can tell one story. There's when Stan lived at the Oceana Hotel. He had his desk, his writing desk, and a picture hanging on the wall next to the picture of John F. Kennedy. He had one picture with a good friend in his arms. And I always wanted to know who this guy is. I couldn't find any hint who he is. And I began to research, and I needed at least 3 or 4 years to it was like treasure hunting to find out who this guy is. And I had contact with his family, and they told me stories. They gave me letters and personal handwritten letters from him, and we made a good story out of this. And that was something, for example, which was totally new for me, and which will be new for the Laurel and Hardy community, to see this wonderful story of this guy and his very deep friendship to Stan.
But this will be in volume 2, Michael. Tell the
volume 2, yes.
So you have to buy volume 2. You have to
more
buy volume
more
2.
teasing.
Teaser.
So, Michael, this is obviously your second book of Laurel and Hardy,
yes,
right?
That's right, yes.
Following Spot On. So how did you find the process this time around compared to the Spot On book?
The Spot On book was a little bit easier to write because it was a third of it was only 160 pages. And it was it was only about the year 1952, about the British tour. So it was much easier to write and to find the material, which is based on the recording that I found, the live recording of their stage act. So it was much more easier to write and I did it with Nico Karpenstadt, the Belgian Laurel and Hardy fan and very good friend of mine. And it was written in 1 year, I think.
Yeah, it's great. And I remember when I first received a copy of that book, And this probably goes back to what you were just saying about the quality of the later photographs.
Yes.
Those full-page photographs that you have of the boys from the 50s are just stunning. You know, to see them that, because again, that's a big dimensional book, isn't it? You know, it's not obviously as thick, but the size of it is like an album, an LP sleeve size.
Yes.
And to see those full-page shots of the boys, it just knocked me out. I thought it was wonderful, really, really wonderful. And also the images of the original cassettes and the tapes and the notebooks. You know, you really felt as if you were looking at your collection right in front of you. It was wonderful, really, really, really good.
Yeah, and we had the idea if you look through the book, you want to take the cassette out. It must be so haptisch, difficult to explain. You want to
like a trick of the eye.
Yeah,
type thing.
that's it.
Like 3D sort of thing.
Yeah,
you could take it out and yeah.
And that was the first time I think that these photos were printed in such big format. And we received, when we published Spot On, we received a lot of positive resonance about the size of the photos. And that was also the same size than A True Love Story. Size of the book,
That's right. That's what made me think of it. And I think it was that really that it's that's where the impact is when you open these books. The size of the images is it's just wonderful to see them that big. You know, Russell and I were trying to do something. There's a lot of similarities between the design of our book and the book that you have. Ours is very different because we're focusing on the films and trying to get as many of the stills in as possible, but we really want to have those full bleed shots because they just knock you out. You turn the page and it's just wonderful. So yeah, so glad to see that you've continued with that in this book. It does make such a difference.
I've certainly got to hand it to you.
So which part of the process did you both enjoy the most, and which part did you enjoy the least?
The creative part. Yes, the creative part of, as I said before, of looking through our collections, of choosing out what is good and what is not as good. That was the process of designing the book. I mean, we had spent hours and hours in trying out at the computer how should that page look. We tried different backgrounds. We looked into different frames, maybe for the photographs. Sometimes we were playing around with making some of the parts only of a photograph in color from the black and white photos and things like that. That process is really creative, and we loved it, and we spent hours and hours, thousands of hours, I guess, with this, and that was great fun as well, because those photographs, most of them are so funny. Most of them are really funny. You look at them and then you remember the scene in the film, or the image itself tells you a totally other story, and it's so funny, the faces or whatever, that we laugh to death sometimes ourselves, so that was great fun in doing it. Yes, really, it was a pleasure for us. I mean, it was really, this is our hobby. We don't do that for money, or we don't do that for I don't know, kind of, this is not our normal work, not even mine as an author or a journalist that I am, but normally I'm in German television an investigative journalist. I do totally different things, from mostly with things like, I'm not so funny, I mean, criminals are my topics, or the mafia, or whatever. So yeah, so this is a totally different thing, which is for us a hobby. And yeah, that bit was great fun. And also, we had always a reason to go out. We could tell our wives, so yeah, sorry, we have to leave today. So back on Monday after the weekend, because we have a lot of work to do. And then yeah, we did the work, but also we had fun. We had some wine, some beer, we went out. So So it took us. That's the reason why it took us so long. Also, yeah.
We've been to the convention, had a swell time, going home in the morning, and nobody's any the wiser.
It was a possibility to relax from our main jobs. I'm often on tour with my band, and and to write a book or to make a book, to design a book, is really fun. That was fun, but the sending of the books and all these things is not so very fun.
All the stuff which comes after you have printed it is really tough. It's really hard work. I mean, to create the book was also work, but as I said, it was fun. All the rest, after we had printed it and we gave it to the public, let's say like this, as we offered it in our shop, now we have to deal with shipping, shipping. We have a fulfillment center, but there are things not going like you would like them to go, though. People ask us, where's our book? Do you have the tracking number? Oh, I got my book, but the sleeve, there is a little, what is, it is, yes.
Damaged.
A fold.
Yeah,
like
a
a
little
crease.
one.
Yeah.
So please send another one. I understand the people. I mean, they bought it and they would have a perfect book, and we want them to have a perfect book. But all this stuff is not really what we love to do, but we have to. And then you have to deal with taxes. You have to deal with, all these things. They are not so funny then.
We are no publishers, so we have to learn a lot through this process. Yes.
Yes, of course. But just going back to what you were talking about, being your hobby. I know from my personal experience, and also Russell, I think, feels the same. It's so. I'm just wondering if you feel the same. It's so nice to be able to take your collections and things that you've spent so much time and effort and money to collect, but then to be able to use that and make something out of it and share it with people that's quite special, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. My collection is not only about photographs and documents and things like that. I also have a lot of memorabilia. Memorabilia, is that a word for it? From Stan and from Ollie, yeah. And normally I see those things, my wife, but she don't cares about, and then or only about the money I spend it for it, and then and now you can share it. And our graphic designer, Axel Schuldes, the guy who's doing all the stuff at the computer that we cannot do. I mean, we tell him. We talk with him how we like to have it. He can then do it, and he is also a very good photographer. He made all the photographs that you can see in the book, which are not about Laurel and Hardy itself, but about the memorabilia and other stuff. And he's very good in this as well. So he did it, and that makes. For me, it's like a little walk. For me, it's sometimes like if I see the book at the end now, it's like a walk through a museum, a Laurel and Hardy museum.
Yes.
Every page is kind of a step in a new room in a museum, and then you can watch and you can see. And I see, as you said, I can present, or we can present parts of our collections. So that's great, yeah. And not only of our collection.
Yeah, it's much more fun to present the collection to others than to have them in the folder. It makes no sense for me.
No, I agree. Yeah, it makes it. I guess it makes it feel as if it's alive. It's not just sitting there stale in a folder.
Yeah.
It has a life again. Which is really, really. Yeah, it's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I always think it's I'm just lately I've been thinking it's a very good time to be a Laurel and Hardy fan. I guess now that the films are starting to come into public domain, so we're getting better restorations now of these wonderful films. The 1928 Blu-rays are coming out, and just people are starting to receive those. Your wonderful book, Randy's had 2, 3, 4 books really in the last few years coming out. There's more books in the pipeline coming out. from various authors. It's a really great time. But I think what's key and really important, and what we've just spoken about there, how you've been sharing your collections, is that I think, and it's quite a sad thing as well in a way, that the amount of people that are interested in Laurel and Hardy is decreasing. There's a lot of people who are very interested, like ourselves, which is great, but unfortunately the younger generation aren't following through. What we're doing is a good way of trying to help promote the boys, and the Stan and Ollie film also brought new audiences to it. But I just kind of feel that if we don't share these collections, there's going to be nobody interested to see them in 10, 20, 30 years time. So this is the moment now to collaborate, to bring everybody together. And from what you've done there, and what Russ and I are doing, and I know there are other authors, I say, coming down the line, everybody seems to be doing that at the moment, coming together and producing these collaborative pieces of work which are just beautiful. And I think that's such a great thing to see, that those testaments to how we feel about Laurel and Hardy, what they've done for us, we're now giving back to the boys, and hopefully extending their legacy, for many years to come. I hope, fingers crossed, anyway.
Right. Yes, I think the social media gives us the chance to interact very good between the fans. And over the years, you have met so many Laurel and Hardy fans who are willing to share their material. We have a lot of material in our book, collections from Mark Hammond or Chris Seguin or
Randy Stratford,
Danny Bacher. There's Randy Stratford. So many people who were willing to share their material for the book. That's really great. And
what I'm always wondering, Patrick, is how much material is coming up, new material every time, every week, every day almost. You will find new photographs that you have never seen before, because somebody went in a cellar, or attic, and finds something maybe from his parents, from his father or whatever, and then it comes to the market, and you can buy it or you can license it. That's great. I mean, there is no end. It doesn't stop. You can find them anywhere, and as well as footage. We found a lot of footage as well. So we have had the idea of the DVDs, which are coming with the book. So you will find new things, and that's really astonishing. But at the end, as you said, it's a tribute, it's a tribute to Laurel and Hardy. What we would like to do is keep them alive.
Yeah, absolutely right. You mentioned the DVD actually, Andreas. Michael, do you want to just talk a little bit about the DVD, because that obviously is quite a big part of the release. It's not just the book; you also have this disc that comes along with it.
Yes, we during the years, my main job was researching. Andreas had a lot of material in his collection, and I tried to find new things that nobody has seen before. As a child, I was interested in treasure hunting, and that's still today. Yeah, and I began to search 20 years ago, I think, and found a lot of interesting material. For example, Stan Laurel sitting in front of the Oceana and eating a plant and other things, and that was my main part to research and find material to do on the DVD. Yeah. And we have a lot more for DVD number 2, and also audio recordings of Stan and Ollie or Stan that we found over the years. So sometimes we try to get the permission, but I'm sure we will do a lot of interesting footage.
You always try to
DVD number 2.
Always try to get a permission for everything. I mean, yes. No, we have to license stuff like that, mainly from others and or archives. Yes, but I think DVD 2 is also really interesting. Hopefully, it will be.
Yeah. I was quite taken by this. The behind-the-scenes footage that you have on this DVD. Zenobia was one.
And Atoll K as well, a small part.
That's right, a little bit, yeah. Really nice to see those. Really, really. As you say, these little treasures that just keep popping up is just fascinating. It's mind blowing that they're still there knocking around. We've just got to track them down. I think it was Rob Stone that said in one of my early episodes, the good thing is that Laurel and Hardy are very recognisable. So if somebody stumbles across a little bit of footage, you can tell who it is. Lots of people will know who it is, so it's not going to get swept away, or I don't know who that is, let's put it to one side. If it's there, it'll be spotted and found, and we can hopefully get it restored. So
hopefully. Yeah.
Where can people buy the book before we forget that very important part? How and where can people purchase it?
Yeah, mainly on our homepage, our own internet shop. We have it. You will find it on www. and then the Pictorial history with this. What is the name of it? Slash? No slashes.
The hyphens, little dashes, little hyphens,
Yes.
little dashes.
Pictorial history.com. You will. I don't know the word. I cannot get it. But you will. Maybe you will show it on your page or something.
I'll put a link in the show notes. I always put a link in the show notes to anything that we talk about. So yeah, there will definitely be one there that will take people directly to your website. So that's fine.
And it's available on eBay.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
But not on Amazon at the moment, and we think it will not be on Amazon anyway. So because of different reasons.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Great. I'm going to move on in a second to start to wrap things up because I want to ask you the Atoll question, guys. I have to ask you the Atoll question. Is there anything else you'd like to just mention or talk about the book before we move on to that? Because I just
maybe we can mention that people who are not very familiar with the internet, and sometimes there are old people who have their difficulties, they can send us an email and we can check out with them how to order.
Oh, okay.
The email is info@ and then the pictorialhistory.com.
I love it. How are you spelling by the way? Okay, well I'll tell you what. If you send me the email address, and then I'll also put that into the show notes.
Okay,
if anybody wants to drop you an email, that's the easiest way to do that. I think that's great. Yeah. Okay, gents, that's fantastic. So I'm afraid I'm going to strand you on a deserted atoll. But you are being allowed to take with you 4 Laurel and Hardy related items. You can have a Laurel and Hardy silent short, a talkie short, a feature film, and a Laurel and Hardy related book. You're on 2 separate islands, gents, I'm afraid. So you can you can choose different films. That's the key to that one, though. So we'll start with Michael. I'm going to start with you. If you'd like to give me your silent short, what would you like to take with you?
My favorite silent short is Big Business.
Oh, of course.
Yes, I think I like the way the actors celebrate the destruction.
Yes, yeah.
I liked it as a kid and like it today.
Yeah, it is a fabulous short.
It's my favorite, yes.
What I love about Big Business, I found out very recently whilst we were researching for our Laurel and Hardy magazine, the last winter's magazine, that originally they were going to have many different houses to call at, but when they got to Finlayson's house, there was so much going on there, so many gags that they kept coming up with, that they just thought, let's leave it here. Let's just carry on at this one house and just totally go to town with it. So I love that. It was little nuggets of information you find out as your research is wonderful. That's a great choice. Andreas, what is your silent short?
Yes, I think I would love to see Heads Off as everybody, but as it is not available at the moment, as far as I know, Putting Pants on Philip.
Oh, good one.
I love that one because the first time, they are both acting a little bit like, a couple.
Yes.
There was a good interacting between both of them in that one, and I find it pretty funny to see Stan in the Kilt, or what is the name of it?
Yeah.
And there is one scene that always remembers me of the later scene in Mary Monroe picture, where Stan is standing on that thing where the tube is going underneath, and the kilt is blowing up, like goes up, and then you can see his legs and so on. That one from Mary Monroe later then. So
Yeah, that's great. I love that when they his underpants have fallen off, and you see it just about to blow, and then these ladies faint in the background. Yeah, it's so good. It's really good. I think Oliver Hardy in that film is just fantastic as well. If you just watch the film and just watch Babe Hardy, his performance is wonderful in that. It's so good. I think probably the best to date to that point. I think in his career, I think it was just perfect. So he
was a great. He was a great actor. Yeah, he was.
I mean, all he had to do, I say all he had to do was to react in that film. That was his job. He didn't really have to do anything else. He just had to keep reacting. But the way he did it was just perfect. Just such a good actor. Yeah. Such a good actor. Mm-hmm. Fabulous. Okay, good choices, gents. So, Michael, could you give me your talkie short, please?
My talkie short, my favorite talkie short is Thamthar Hills.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that one. What do you like about that?
There's so many funny scenes, and I like this scene where they are cooking together, and it's like in a marriage scene.
Where's the can opener?
Huh?
The can opener.
Pom pom.
La da da dee da dum dum dee dee dee.
Pom 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 pom.
I'm singing this song. Put the coffee on.
It reminded me to my mother and my father who were in the kitchen and had different. Also, it's like in a marriage, and that's what I like very much.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. There's parts in that scene that remind me of my mum and dad. Certainly, my dad as the Ollie character. When I'm singing this song.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Exactly.
I love that. But there again, there are so many of Oliver Hardy's mannerisms that my dad has taken. I see it in him all the time. Little things that he does, he sort of double takes and looks and stuff. And it's very much, it's like living with Oliver Hardy at times. Or Captain Mainwaring from Dad's Army. He's a blend of the two characters. It's great. Oh, lovely. Andreas, what's your talkie short?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought a long time about it because there are so many, which I really love.
Yes, it's a difficult question.
Yeah, really. But I decided, or I think Toad in a Hole is one of my all-time favorites.
Yes.
I can laugh about it every time I see it. It's great. It's great. The interaction between both of them and for example, when Stan is sitting in the cabin, with his blue eye, or
Yes.
or I mean, I don't remember, they're both of them blue, whatever. And he's bored and he's doing this, I don't know, that game where he's playing with himself.
The noughts and crosses, yeah.
Yes, and he wins. And he wins.
Who'd have thought it?
So, yes, it's absolutely one of my favorites, yeah.
I thought I told you not to come out of there.
Well, I got a good idea.
I don't want to hear it. Now you get back in there and don't come out again until I call you.
It is a great one. When Ollie's painting the mast and he's what's that noise? What is that noise? And he just carries on painting it. Oh, it's so good. It's really good. What is so good about that film and films like it though, and they are my favourite type of Laurel and Hardy's, is the ones where they have just a job to do. They are so simple. There is no difficult plot. It's just those two making a complete hash of everything. It's just fabulous. It's fabulous stuff.
Yeah, and this time as well, the boat is totally destroyed at the end. What else? I mean,
yeah, that's it. Yeah. But Stan still has to go and fetch his little horn, just to check, and he's got his horn, so that's fine. Everything else is fine. It's great, really good. Okay, lovely. So we move on, Michael, to your feature film.
Yeah, I think it's Sons of the Desert. I like also Way Out West and some others, but in Sons of the Desert, the sum of brilliant moments is very unique for me, and the timing of the interaction and the director, it's a perfect film for me. Perfect Laurel and Hardy film.
There you are, fit for a king. We'll have a good night's sleep, go down in the morning, tell them about the shipwreck, and nobody will be any the wiser.
I've certainly got to hand it to you.
For what?
Well, for the meticulous care with which you have executed your finely formulated machinations in extricating us from this devastating dilemma. Then, on the other hand...
Get in bed.
Huh?
Meticulous.
Yes, it is a very popular one with guests, actually, and rightly so. It feels like a short. It goes so fast, doesn't it, as well?
That's right. It goes very fast.
Yeah. Everything just clicks. It's perfect. It's a great choice. Andreas.
Yes. If Michael wouldn't have chosen Sons of the Desert, because I love it as this movie as well. So I was thinking about A Jump at Oxford.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but then I decided, no, I mean, it's great. It's a great movie. But then I said, okay, Blockheads. I love Blockheads. I love it because, they are getting, back to be a couple, a friends couple, and it has so many really funny moments. I always remember this scene when Ollie is pushing Stan in a wheelchair, at the beginning of the movie, and Stan says, "Do you remember do you remember how dumb I used to be?" And Ollie says, "Yeah, and well, that's better now. I'm better now." I mean,
Gee, Ollie, this is just like old times. You and I been together.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
We sure used to have a lot of fun, didn't we?
We sure did.
You remember how dumb I used to be?
Yeah.
Well, I'm better now.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear it.
That's great.
I love it. Yeah,
that's really good. That's nice. Yeah. I think Jump at Oxford is a great film, but I find it's you could take that whole first chunk out, the bit where they're trying to get the job in the job agency and all that. If you took all that out and just started at Oxford, you have a perfectly good movie as well. It's just a little bit bitty, and you can kind of tell that they just added that chunk on at the start. So a few marks off for that. But Blockheads is a great choice. Also a great choice. Okay. And your final choice, a Laurel and Hardy related book. Now, you can't choose your own books, unfortunately.
Oh,
sorry. As good as they are, bad. I know. I should have told you that in advance. But you can't choose your own.
Then it's Randy Stradford's The Magic Behind the Movies, I think. The book is very interesting and comprehensive and big, and I think when I'm on an island I have a lot to read, and maybe I'll be safe before I finish the book. That's possible. No, I like this book, and I think I would take it to an island.
That's a great choice.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. Andreas?
I have nothing else to say. So what should I say? I would choose also The Magic Behind the Movies, and because it was my first book on Laurel and Hardy, the first book I ever bought, because I was interested in how they do the comedies, how they have interacted as a team, and who did what, and things like that, and that started my obsession. This book started really my obsession, and for Laurel and Hardy. So at the end, I would take that one as well. And as I know, Randy, he's really a walking what is the word? Encyclopedia. What?
Keep going, because it's great. I love this. Encyclopedia.
What a word! So he's a walking one of that. He knows everything. He knows everything about Laurel and Hardy. You can ask him. He knows everything. So this book, you have to have that book.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree. Funnily enough, Andreas, that it wasn't my first book. This is the little orange paperback that he first brought out. I think I'd already read the John McCabe book, Mr. Laurel and Mr. Hardy, and I loved it. Very tearful at the end, obviously, and it made a big impact. But that book, when I read that one, I remember the smell of it. I remember everything. It made such an impact on me because it was, as Randy does, it goes into detail about the films and how they were made, and I hadn't seen any other book do that. I'd read parts of the Marx Brothers one, Groucho, Chico, Harpo, and sometimes Zeppo, which that was probably one of the first books of its kind, and Randy's kind of followed that same mold. But because it was Laurel and Hardy that I knew so well, much better than I knew the Marx Brothers, it was just fabulous. And like you say, it set me off on that, wanting to know about all the films, the ins and outs, the details, but also in that chronological order, which is what you do in the Love Story book. You keep that chronology from cradle to literally to grave. It is that. It just suits the way that my mind works wonderfully. So, yeah, good choices, gentlemen. Good choices. I love that. So I think we've come to the end. You've done very well there. You got through the Atoll Question very nicely, very, very nicely. Again, congratulations on the book, Laurel and Hardy, A True Love Story, the pictorial history of Stan and Ollie, their life and work, Volume 1. Shortly to have Volume 2 following it on. Thank you so much for coming on, and well done on getting through it. Your English was exceptionally good. So well done. Hardly a falter, apart from the word encyclopedia, but we won't hold you to
that. Yeah. And one thing is for sure, tonight I will dream in English. That's for sure. I will dream in English.
You'll be dreaming of somebody gabbling rather too quickly in English, I suspect. So that's fabulous. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Really, really hope that the book does well. I'm sure it will. And I know as soon as people get their hands on it, they will fall in love with it, because it is wonderful. So well done. And thanks ever so much for coming on. And hopefully we'll see you again another time when Volume 2 comes out.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you.
Now, as promised at the start of the show, here is a very rare clip from an interview with our beloved Babe Hardy. It only lasts for a few seconds, and it's part of a longer recording that Michael and Andreas will be sharing in full as part of Volume 2 of their True Love Story books. So I'm really honoured to be able to play this clip, and thank you so much, Michael, for sharing it with us.
Well, I like to golf, and I garden also, and of course push the vacuum cleaner for Mrs. Hardy when she pushes me, yes.
I'm sure you'll agree it's always an absolute treat to hear new recordings of Stan and Babe, and it was a delight to hear Babe Hardy being so candid. I can't wait to be able to listen to the rest of that interview and all the other treasures that Michael and Andreas have lined up for us. You can grab yourself a copy of Volume 1 of A True Love Story, which includes a fascinating DVD of rare videos of the boys, by heading over to their website, and you can find the links to that and my Patreon page in the podcast show notes. Don't forget our live podcast recording on Zoom with Danny Backer and Bernie Hoje. Bernie, incidentally, is the man behind the wonderful Letters from Stan website that you may have visited. The recording will be taking place on Sunday, December 15th at 5 p.m. UK time, which I think is 12 noon on the East Coast of the US and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. All you have to do to receive an invitation to watch the recording unfold and take part in the following Q&A afterwards is to sign up to the Plumtree tier on my Patreon page. Just follow the link in the show notes and on the website laurelandhardyfilms.com. So until then, all that remains is to thank today's special guests Andreas Baum and Michael Ehret. Thank you to the Bohunks Orchestra for the wonderful music. And last but never least, thank you to you for joining me once again. And until next time, it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
And a very goodbye from me. Goodbye.